So, we look like we're ready. But this is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man.
Wants to throw it to Stewart. He caught it. He stole the first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Let me tell you something. I love this team now. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
What do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
Be calling things out. There's a big hit right away.
And boom! Touchdown, Detroit Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff dropped it in the bucket that time.
We're in our window now to win.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser.
All right, so we're in more technical difficulties trying to do this from the iPad. And it's just been the constant for the last couple of days, so we apologize. Today was not the result that we wanted, right? We expected a big win, and we expected this Lions defense to come out and dominate, and they didn't show up.
Not at all.
One pass defensed, one sack there at the end of the fourth quarter for 17 yards that helped, the Lions turn the field and get down and tie the game. But man, they played flat on the defensive side of the ball. And I guess before we really get into it, what I do not want to hear from anybody is that this is a Goff loss.
I can't stand it. Please don't do that.
For the first 6 weeks last season, that's all we heard was it's Goff's fault because he threw some interceptions last season. And it's not Goff's fault. It's the defense's fault. If they can't keep teams under 21 points, you're not going to win many games. It's the standard in the NFL. It's a high-scoring, NFL now. But you have to limit the offenses that you're going up against to 21 points or less. If you have a powerful enough offense to be able to score points like the Lions do, and they did, and they led, 85% of this game today, but the defense just allowed too many big plays, too much underneath. Yep. I thought that they used too many single high safety zone options, for the defense that just left the interior, the middle of the defense wide open for big plays. And that's where Metcalf, Noah Fant, Will Dissly were able to, play at a high level today.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, though, today was Andy's first home football game for the Detroit Lions. Andy, tell him, I mean, what did you think outside of the game itself? What did you think of Ford Field and Detroit and the fans and the scenery and the people? And
Well, going off of what I said when we first got there today, the experience was amazing. Those fans it was loud. It was a loud game. I know that they had the decibel meter going quite a few times, and we poked at 120 a couple times, but we were constantly in that 115 to 119 range. I mean, it was pretty. My ears are ringing a little bit, dude. It was really good crowd noise. Ford Field, what a beautiful field it is. I like it, nice and simple. It's not too flashy, but it's you notice it. It's good. I really really like it. It was just a great time, Will. That the fans there are real genuine and true. You can see why they just don't turn their back on that team, no matter what. Very passionate when the bad stuff happened. What was that dirty hit that Goff took?
Yeah, that was terrible.
But I mean, those fans, they almost give this, perception as if they want to get on the field and get back at that guy. And usually I'm pretty loud and crazy, but I don't know what, if the whole game you were sitting next to me. I was rather quiet for most of the game. I think I was just really caught in the moment, taking it all in, really. If I ever come back again, you'll probably see a different side of my fandom there. But
yeah, sure.
It was just really, really great experience. Will, I got to say thanks a lot for hooking me up and bringing me to the game. And they were awesome seats. I mean, even being on the second level, I mean, you could still see everything, which I thought was great. So great experience. If you're a Lions fan and you're even outside of Detroit, do what I did. Come to Ford Field sometime and check it out. It's a great experience.
So let's talk about the game a little bit. And this is a little bit of a different episode. And I know I keep saying that recently, but, today, again, it's truly off the cuff because we don't have any preparation, just coming straight from the game, lost our voice. We haven't done any prep for this. I've got a few things that I pulled up, but, the disappointing factors today, one were the refs. And look, if you're going to win games, you have to take the refs out of it. You have to score points. And your defense has to make good stands. And that happened today with the offense. They were scoring points, albeit it was slow. It was methodical. They were able to put, 31 points on the board. That should win plenty of games all season long. Mm-hmm. Today it didn't. And it didn't because early the refs got involved and were throwing that yellow piece of dirty laundry everywhere. And there was a lot of terrible calls, bad calls. And then there was no calls on the other side for Seattle.
Constantly.
The completely blatant pass interference where I think it was Reynolds that was tackled going across the field.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're trying to say that was a not catchable ball. It certainly was a catchable ball.
It was.
And since you guys are only able to see it, on replay, Reynolds was very close to catching that ball. And had he not been tripped and interfered with, he would have caught that ball. Maybe not have made a touchdown.
But it would have been a first down.
But it would have been a long reception for a first down.
Yeah.
Wasn't called at all. How that happens, we don't know. But man, did the fans erupt, and the boos and the FUs and the BSs were just rolling. I mean, these fans were excited. And anytime something happened today that was disheartening, demoralizing, it sets you back. We jump right back up and we get right back into it, and we get right back into chanting. And the place was rocking. We just couldn't beat the refs today. And that's sad because they played a pretty good game. We did suffer some major injuries. We did see Montgomery was carted off. Don't have any updates on that. Amon-Ra was dealing with cramps. He came back and finished the game. But clearly he was dealing with something. Aiden Hutchinson went down for a minute and then he came back in. So there was some things that were going on today. I feel like the Seahawks are dirty. I feel like they played a very dirty game, and you could see, I mean, especially with the hit on Goff. I mean, that was seconds late. It wasn't like a bang, bang. I mean, it was like the ball's out.
He stood there for about 2 seconds,
and then he got
the hit. I'm like, what? And I real quick, Will, not to cut you off, but they kind of showed the replay up there, on the screen in front of us, and you don't see Goff act the way getting in someone's face. He's a pretty reserved player. So when you see a guy like Goff trying to get into another player's face for something dirty, that's saying something. And the Seahawks players most of the game too, they were just, coming down to the end zone where we were at and, doing their little, just being real cocky. And I didn't like it.
To me, it seemed like the refs allowed the Seahawks to do what they wanted to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And they were controlling the game to a point today, I felt, that was suppressing what the Lions were able to do. The thing that I'm really most disappointed about today, and I think that this is the reason for the loss. I mean, outside of, I think the poor defensive alignments the Lions were in today, clock management is a huge issue right now.
Dude,
a minute 56, the Lions get the ball back in the fourth quarter. They're, roughly at midfield. They have plenty of time. They have 3 timeouts.
Yep.
Why do you play, the last 2 minutes of the game only throwing or playing four passes? Four
plays.
4 plays.
Four plays with a minute 57 left in
and
the
you
game.
don't call one
3
timeout.
timeouts.
That doesn't make any sense to me. When
No.
just like you said, I said Herm Edwards, whatever, during the game.
You play to win the game.
You play to win the game, man. I mean, you don't play to tie the game and to go into OT. That's just not what you do.
No.
You want to get down the field, and you know what? If you want to chew off the clock, then get down the field and get a first down, under the 15-yard line, and then try to punch it in.
Yeah.
And if you can't punch it in, you've got 3 downs that you can waste. You chew the clock, you kick the field goal, you turn the field, so be it. But they didn't even try that. And even when they were at the 35-yard line, they still had about a minute, and they just let it tick away.
There was no urgency. I kept hoping for like a hurry up offense, just to get down the field, try to punch it in, but it was just, they kept lining up at the line of scrimmage as if it was still like the midway through the third quarter. And you could hear everybody around us was saying, why are we not using our timeouts?
Oh, yeah, the whole entire stadium was upset, and everyone was screaming timeouts. I mean, since about the minute 40 mark, after they ran their first play, everyone's looking at each other like, what are we doing?
Yeah, where are the timeouts at? Why are they not being used?
And I get it. Like, you're on the other side of the field, so I think they were just at the 50, like real close to it. And I get it. Campbell wants to chew up the clock. He doesn't want to give Seattle any opportunity if we can't move the ball, and if we have to punt it, he doesn't want to give them any opportunity. But at the same time, if you don't go down and try to win the game and you turn the ball over, well, one, you're not going to get another chance because the game's over.
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry about punting, the ball. Don't worry about turning it over, because if that happens, the game's over anyway. There's not enough time. And if you were thinking that was even a possibility, you have to call the timeouts.
Exactly.
Because then you have to give yourself a chance to go in and get a 3-and-out or a turnover and go kick a field goal to tie it up. So clock management's a problem. I can't wait to hear what Dan Campbell says about it, because I'm sure he's getting grilled at the press conference right now that we're not listening to.
Oh, he is.
And that's, I think, going to be the biggest headline out of this is, what the hell happened. I'm probably going to have to make a T-shirt that has a large clock on it with a minute 56, and I'm going to send it to Dan Campbell with the question of why. But at any rate, look, it's just one game. Okay, it's not a game we should have lost.
No,
this team shouldn't be losing a game or even facing a team that I feel is worthy, of the Lions, suffering a loss until about week 8 or 9. The Ravens game, I think it's week 9. That's the toughest game on the schedule right now, in my opinion. After week 1, now after week 2, we'll reassess. But there is some deficiencies, and the next biggest thing is the offensive line depth.
Yeah.
Decker's
still out was out.
Yeah.
Lost Nelson,
but he was a sieve already.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And I mean, we've talked about this. We don't have that offensive line depth.
No.
And if we start losing these players, and I just looked real quick, Will, they're saying Montgomery does have a thigh injury, but there's no real update other than that.
So he probably has either a deep bone bruise or a thigh contusion, and then that could be weeks. So let's move on from offensive line for a minute. Since you brought up Montgomery, why is Jahmyr Gibbs not getting the ball?
Yeah.
You're telling me that a first-round pick, number 12 overall, is not as good as Craig Reynolds?
That just baffled me. I after the Kansas City game, when they didn't utilize him a lot in that game, it's been discussed. We were like, well, maybe there's a, method of madness. They're going to come back and they're going to use him, give him heavy usage in the Seattle game. it was more of the same. It reminded me of the Kansas City game. I'm going, where's Jameer at?
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
So, it's a little bit baffling. I don't understand. I mean, I get that Jameer Gibbs is definitely a pass threat, but I'm not even seeing the pass plays out of the backfield enough, right? We've seen a couple, but we're not seeing it enough.
No.
And Laporta was able to turn on like we expected him to be able to do across the middle today. I mean, we did call it, right, that they were going to have the ability to work over the middle of the field against the Seattle defense. But there was time and time again that they go to it, they get hot with it, and then they stop. And that's the biggest thing that I worry about with this team. And that's from teams in the past, is that they utilize the game plan. It works well. And then it's like, oh, wait, we forgot to run the ball. We better run the ball. When the passing game is working, I mean, what did I say, the other day for a prediction? That Goff was going to have 349 yards, I think.
I believe you were in that neighborhood.
And he had like 3.25 today. So we knew that the opportunity was going to be there. I said that he was going to have 4 touchdowns. He had 3, and he should have had a 4th. So the opportunity was there. The defense gave Goff exactly what he needed. But for some reason, we go back to, we forgot to do something. We forgot to run the ball.
Yeah.
So we better run the ball a few times, and let's get away from the passing game. But then there's no deep shots.
Yeah, that was he had that one deep shot for the touchdown, but it's still, there were so many opportunities where line up in the shotgun, take a shot down the field, and they just weren't happening.
No.
I'm just some of the offensive play calls, I'm not going to say overall I thought the offense played great, but some of the play calling was questionable as to why are you not doing this in this situation.
Right.
And
it's not like we expect him to go deep all game long, and we don't really have a burner. But then again, you do have Gibbs that is a burner. He does have, according to Amon-Ra, Jameer Gibbs is the fastest player on the team. He's faster than Jameson Williams in a 40, but, in a 50, 60, 70, Jameson's gonna beat him. But honestly, you're not going to see too many 40, 50, 60-yard bombs from any quarterback. It's just about being able to turn and burn and get loose, and once you're loose, not get caught.
Yep.
And that's the nice feature about a Jameson Williams when he does come back. So right now, Jameson is sorely missed because we do not have that top threat, take it off the top of the defense, player on this team that is able to do that. And we know that Goff can thread the needle. I mean, the guy was pinpoint accurate most of the day today, besides the one pick. I mean, I don't have the stat, but I want to say that Goff is somewhere close to 400 passes without an interception until today.
Yep.
So since I believe week 9 or 10 of last season.
I believe it was week 9.
Week 9 or 10 of last season.
He hadn't thrown a pick.
No, he hasn't thrown a pick until today. Bad time, wrong place. Makes me question the route. We're going to have to go back and watch the tape and see if there was a bad route, because the ball went right to where it was supposed to go, and the player was on the other side, going to the right. Goff is going to the left. So it makes me think that there was a miscommunication or a bad route, whether it was Goff or the wide receiver or whomever it was. I don't remember who it was at this point. We'll have to go back and take a look, but don't put the blame on Goff, because he put an extra 7 points or 6 points on the board for the Seahawks today. Mm-hmm. The point is, the defense was constantly getting beat.
Yeah.
And they were getting beat in areas that they shouldn't be. And the biggest problem is you're not going to give your defensive backs enough time to stay sticky and enough time to make plays by giving them too much time to having to be out there, right? You have to get pressure. How does this defense not get pressure against the Seahawks team coming in without their 2 starting tackles? You're telling me that they were able to find tackles that can be better than the starters that they had today?
Yeah, that's what I thought our defense was going to thrive on, was the fact that they didn't have those 2 starting tackles for the offense, and those 2 tackles they held up pretty well. I got to give them credit, but that defense, again, I said it to you at some point during the game, they just looked flat. They looked lifeless. They just what were they doing, dude? I just don't understand where they were. I saw a little bit of this. Well, I thought the defense played better against Kansas City. It was the Super Bowl champs.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw what I saw in the Kansas City game, I'm figuring they're gonna eat Seattle for lunch. Didn't happen that way.
No, it didn't.
No.
But again, there's a lot of reasons why. And we don't know all the reasons. Was it too long of a layover? The 10-day gap? I mean, it is only week 2. They're just getting their game legs underneath them.
Right.
They're just really getting their game speed underneath them. I mean, they've only played one game against Kansas City. They have a 10-day layoff. They play game 2 at home. And it almost seems like they were more nervous to come home and play than they were to go out to Arrowhead and play.
Seemed like it.
So
I know a lot's expected of them, but they got to be able to overcome that. I mean, if you can, that's the thing. I mean, you go to Kansas City and you can beat them at Arrowhead, you should be coming back home to Detroit on the home opener knowing you can beat a team that's coming in there. I mean, but I don't know, Will. The defense needs to get cleaned up and
it does.
Quickly.
In a hurry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a little bit of a different episode because you're hearing more of the venting and the, the worries that we have as opposed to the analysis and really doing a deep dive into what happened, during the game. And it's because there was too much that was going on in today's game that just doesn't make sense. From the referee's side, I mean, there was probably 4 or 5 calls at least that weren't called, that were clearly blatant. There was probably 3 or 4 calls that shouldn't have been called, and that's one of the bigger ones was Kirby Joseph. How on earth can an offensive player pulling the face mask of a defensive player, causing his arms to come down, right, and take him out of the play, cause pass interference by the defensive player? That's going to be an NFL apology, and they're going to have to rewrite a new rule for the Detroit Lions that says an offensive penalty can't cause a defensive penalty. To me, that's like, 2 negatives don't equal a positive here. So what's going on? Or you know what I'm trying to say.
It's like basically saying go fast but go slow. It's an oxymoron, is what I saw. Yeah. I didn't. That was. I've seen a lot of bad calls since I've been watching football, but that was. I'm not going to say it's the worst one I ever saw, but it was definitely one of the more bizarre, bad ones. Like I've never seen that before ever in football.
So we're going to ask everyone to do a favor. I'm going to get that video clip and we're going to put a little penalty reel, I think, together over the next week or 2.
I think it's a good idea.
And let's make that thing go viral. Let's get it spread out to everywhere. Yeah. Everybody's socials. Just start sharing it. Get people to share it. Tag the NFL in it. And let's make people aware that we're aware. Like, we see it, right? We see right through you.
Yep.
And that kind of crap has got to stop. I mean, the head ref should have known right away, like, look, you can't call a penalty on an offensive player and then call a penalty on a defensive player to have them offset because what the offensive player did created, the penalty for the defensive player. It just doesn't make sense.
That was again, it was just a rotten penalty. I've never, yeah.
And so then what was the other big one? We already talked about the Josh Reynolds going across. He got tackled and they didn't call pass interference. But there was another one, I think, in the beginning of the game with Gardner Johnson. And I believe it was a pass interference on the sideline.
Yep.
And he didn't touch him at all.
Yeah, that was another.
And that wasn't a catchable ball.
No, but also I thought CJ, it was good. He had good coverage on him.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I mean, catchable ball or not, I hate to go this route, and I know everyone gets tired of hearing it sometimes, but these are the type of games with the way the refs called it sometimes will make you think like they are trying to help the other team win.
Well, I mean, it makes you wonder, right?
That, but yeah.
Look at the Seattle game last year to end the season. There was 4 or 5 calls in the last 2.5 minutes to help Seattle win the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody knows that. Everybody that watched NFL that weekend knows what happened in that game directly affected the Detroit Lions not making the playoffs.
Exactly.
And look, again, the Detroit Lions got to help themselves, right?
They do.
You need to win that game. So is today a big deal? No. But in the grand scheme of things, is it a big deal? It absolutely is, because one game can make the difference.
It can.
And winning non-conference games or non-divisional games is the biggest opportunity or the biggest failure that you can have early in the season, right? That's the biggest opportunity that you can give yourself, is win those games.
Exactly.
Because those are the games that help you during tiebreakers. Those are the games, your overall record that help you to get into the playoffs versus your divisional record. You can win every game in your division and not make the playoffs.
Exactly.
So for me, it's, win every winnable game. Every game that you're supposed to win, you've got to win. Today was, and I don't ever use the term same old Lions anymore, but when they say that, they're stealing a defeat from the jaws of victory, I think that's how they say that.
Yep.
That's what happened today. The Lions had the win, and all they had to do was put a better program, some better play on the field, dial up some different plays, get a few extra first downs, whatever the case may be. They didn't do it. And I think the largest part of that was the defense today that stunk it up. And we're going to have to watch the tape to figure it out. So what else today, either excited you, or what else did you see today that,
I saw
some baffling?
A little baffling. I just have to, I think for me, the biggest takeaway from this game that I guess I'm still letting it baffle me is Campbell in these timeouts and his game management. I think that's also what killed this game for us, Will. I just, the lack of using those timeouts, some of the play calling, I don't understand where his head was. That last 2 minutes, I believe, screwed the game up. I think if we would have just used those timeouts and tried to drive down the field, we could have scored and we would have won the game. I'm going to have to say that aside from some of the penalties that are real questionable, that's the most baffling part of this game for me, is right at the end and all that.
Campbell had some issues in his first season and a little bit early into the second season with clock management. And clock management comes with experience, right? I mean, I'm not an NFL coach, right? I'm not in anything close to anything like that. But everyone knows what I'm saying here. It comes with experience. And coaches will speak to it, they've done it for a long time. That clock management is really an art. And learning how to be fluid within the game and making the right calls and making the right decisions, and how just one wrong decision can affect an entire game. And thankfully, I don't think Dan Campbell made any blunderous calls or decisions throughout the game until the last 2 minutes, but it was that last 2 minutes that were critical. Yeah. This game should have never been this tight.
No,
it shouldn't have been. The Lions should have put up 2 more touchdowns and won this game.
I think they should have. Yeah.
Let's throw some stats at everybody out there that's still with us. And thanks everybody for joining. Again, this is truly an off the cuff truck edition. Andy and I, we're in the parking lot and we were waiting to leave, and we were having some issues and, with reception and that. So we're here, we're doing it. We didn't prepare, but Jared Goff was 28 of 35. I think I said last night that he was going to be somewhere with 42 passes.
You said 42. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that he was going to complete, about 34 of them, but he was 28 to 35, 323 yards, 9.2 yards per reception, per pass, 3 TDs. We all know about the pick 6 that he threw. He was sacked twice, which again, with, losing players today on the offensive line, that doesn't help, but
no.
Campbell and Holmes are going to have to figure that out. They got plenty of money. They need to go out and find some offensive help on the line,
and quick.
They need to pay somebody to come in there that can be a very competent backup. I don't want to see the 6th, 7th, and 8th guys that are on this offensive line roster. The guys that we have now are not the answer. Goff finished with 121.8 rating, so phenomenal day.
He had a great day.
He had a wonderful day. So even with the pick 6, he had a phenomenal day. Without that pick 6, I don't know how the rating changes, but it might have been closer to 135.
Right.
If my math serves me right. David Montgomery was having a good day. He was 16 for 67 on the ground in a TD. He was averaging 4.2 yards a carry, which is a little bit, lower than he had last week. I think last week he was around 5.
He was about 5.
He had one long run of 16 yards. I mean, he was doing well. The thing I love about Montgomery, which we've seen now for 2 games, when he sees a hole, he can hit a hole and he can disappear within it. And that's what makes him real slippery as a running back.
I love it.
So that's what's really nice to see. Cleve Freeman's the same way. When he had that punt return today, he was going far right and he saw a hole and he slipped right through it and he got 17 extra yards out of it.
That was phenomenal.
So, I mean, we've got the players. They have the talent. They have the speed. It's just putting it all together, right? The mind boggler of the day, Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 carries, 17 yards, 2.4 yards a carry. 8 yards, was his long. Underutilized for some reason.
Again.
But you put Craig Reynolds in over Jahmyr Gibbs in the second half. Craig Reynolds had 3 carries of 7 yards, 2.3 yards a carry.
I'm still, that one's also killing me too. I don't understand why they're not utilizing Gibbs as much as they should be.
I mean, if we're going to put anybody back there, Khalif Raymond had 1 carry for 11 yards. You might as well just put Khalif back there.
Exactly.
If you're not going to play Jameer, who has an opportunity to break it to the house every single time he touches the ball, then what are you doing? Why did we draft him if we're not going to use him?
Why even bother?
Amon-Ra. I mean, hats off. Amon-Ra, offensive player of the game.
He's phenomenal like he always is.
6 receptions, 102 yards. Like I said last night, I wasn't going to say he was going to hit 100 yards because I didn't want to jinx him. I said he would get 99 on 7 catches. He went 6 for 102. So great game for Amon-Ra.
I called 120 yards for him. So
You did. Just got to flip the numbers around a little bit.
Yeah, I got you.
39-yard reception for Amon-Ra was his long today on 7 targets. So 6 of 7. That should mean something to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
When your biggest target on the field is catching, what's the math on 6 out of 7? Is that like 83% or something,
Yeah.
or 90%? I don't know. But 6 out of 7, I mean, that's incredible.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible.
But when you look at the rest of the numbers, it's Josh Reynolds, 5 for 6. Sam Laporta, 5 for 6. Khalif Raymond, 2 for 3. Jameer Gibbs, 7 of 9. David Montgomery, 1 of 1. Antoine Green, 1 of 1. Craig Reynolds, 1 of 1. Goff is very accurate.
Extremely.
The wide receivers are very good at catching the ball.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big change now with this dynamic of this offense and in what they're doing in practice. I think what Amon-Ra has brought to this team from a work ethic perspective is bar none the biggest thing that has been brought to Detroit outside of Brad Holmes.
It's nothing short of amazing.
His work ethic and what he's implemented with these guys in this wide receiver room is exceptional. And it's exactly the type of player and personality that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes want. Even though we're a little bit upset today that Dan Campbell had a blunder in the last 2 minutes, that the defense, let down again, they're still our Detroit Lions, right?
Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
Still going to be back next week rooting for them again, and they'll work on getting some things fixed. Maybe the shorter break between games will help them.
Yep.
But I think the Lions are going to have a very interesting week with the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see some transactions as early as tomorrow, but I would love to see Brad Holmes go out and find a dominant, offensive tackle that can fill in. Even if you're paying a guy a premium to sit on the bench, I think that's a better opportunity than not having that guy to pull off the bench.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, the biggest thing that baffled me today is why the heck was Hutchinson in at tight end?
I have to check on that. I don't actually think that was him, dude. I think it was Laporta.
So
I'll have to double check.
We had everybody telling us behind us that Hutchinson was on the left and Laporta was on the right.
I'm sorry to do
And
it.
it happened after Nelson went down. So was he our extra lineman, playing in a tight end position? And did they slide somebody inside? I mean, we can't see every play. I mean, you guys probably saw, more of it than we did. We can't answer your comments or chat, by the way, today. So we're not ignoring you if you are. I apologize. But yeah, if he was in, that's mind-boggling to me. If it was like, this is not a time for more gimmicks. If it was a planned usage on the depth chart and somebody like that has to come off the defense to play offense, I get it.
Yeah, but you can't just start throwing. You can't start just trying to throw these nuggets out there of desperation, because that's what it looks like at that point. So that's why, once again, I will double check. I didn't see anything yet, and I'm sure we'll find out. But I don't know if Hutch was on the offense, but if he in fact was, that's also another clear indication that the Lions have to do something about the depth on this line, because I'm not going to say I'm in panic mode about it. The offense still played a great game, but you got to know you can protect Goff. You got to be able to still open up the holes for the backs. It's just something that has to be addressed, and soon.
So we'll flip over to the defensive side of the ball real quick. So this is a little alarming to me. You don't normally see your defensive backs always be the leading tacklers in a week, right?
No.
Or week in and week out.
Mm-mm.
And again, it depends on what style of defense you play. If you were constantly, in in a 4-1-6, you know,
Yeah.
or a 4-2-5, and you've got more defensive backs on the field, their defensive backs are going to have more tackles by default. That very well could have happened today. Again, it's hard for us to watch every single angle when you're trying to enjoy the game, take it all in and everything else. But C.J. Gardner-Johnson was the leading tackler today with 8 tackles. Jerry Jacobs was tied with 8 tackles. Kirby Joseph, Alex Anzalone, and Derek Barnes were all tied with 7. So right away, 3 of our defensive backs were the leading tacklers for the Detroit Lions today. And that tells you that they were in some sort of a zone coverage, and that the underneath routes are wide open today for Seattle.
Oh, big time.
And it did make a bit of sense to me. We didn't see Houston get any pressures. We couldn't find any stats just yet on how many pressures, hurries, and all of that the defense had today. But I'm going to say it's next to nil.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out, and before I forget, go back and look at Seattle's offensive line. They were in a triangle, and it reminded me of the Chiefs last week, but maybe to a bigger degree. So I know that the tight ends like to line up back there, but you have to have, I believe, 7 on the offensive line.
Yep.
And only 4 can be off the line. So you've got quarterback, or your running back, and your wide receivers that can be off the line, right? Or any combination thereof.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back and look at the tape, and you guys should do that too. Go back and look at the tape and look and see how bad was Seattle's offensive lineup. Were they in illegal formation? Because it was only called once that we knew of.
Yep. No, it was only one
And it looked like they were doing the same thing that the Chiefs were doing last week, almost like they're going to take advantage of it until somebody is going to call it. And if that's happening again, and it's happening to the Lions, my question for Dan Campbell is this: are you on that sideline screaming at the refs and telling them that, this is a problem?
He should be.
Because if he's not, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Just like we said last week, you've got to either get in their face and make enough noise to where they're going to throw a flag on you, or you've got to make enough noise to get it to stop. Because clearly the NFL teams that see this and know that they can benefit from it, and if it's not getting called, they're going to use it.
Exactly.
And if they use it, you're not going to get pressure because those tackles and tight end, they're too far back.
Right.
They've already got the edge on you because they're in a premium position, and that's why they have to be on the line. So it doesn't give them an advantage or bigger advantage, than they're supposed to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Cameron Sutton was he had six tackles today. Jack Campbell had 6 tackles. Brian Branch had 4, and then so on and so on after that. Tackles for loss, we only had 1, and that was the sack.
That right at the end of the game.
1 QB hit, 2 pass defense. So that's not a good performance at all today from the defense.
No, it was bad.
All right, I think we covered quite a bit. I mean, my voice is shot. It was a good day. It was a good game. Andy, I thank you for flying in from Arizona and doing this.
Absolutely.
And taking some time to, have some fun for once. And that's what this is all about. This is fun to us. We love it. We love being supporters of the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
We're working our way to, continue to build good content. Hopefully you guys got to see some of the Facebook Lives. It's not what we wanted to do today. For whatever reason, there's just a lot of technical difficulties going on over the last 24 hours, and we couldn't do things the way we wanted to. But the turned up tailgates, the interviewing of the fans today was incredible. And it's the fans, in the city of Detroit that really make this click, that really make this a fun environment, and in an environment that is welcoming and humbling, that, everyone is so embracing of you as a person, as you as an individual, as you as a fan. And like the one guy that we spoke to today, he said, it doesn't matter your color, your race, your religion, your political, none of it matters. You are here to enjoy a football game with your brothers and sisters in blue, being in the Honolulu blue. And that's what it's all about. So I'm glad that you got a chance to see it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And partake with it. That content is going to be special to us. It's going to be unique. We haven't seen anybody do anything like this before, and we want to bring the ones that bring it to you. We want to show the world who Detroit is, who these fans are. Now, we know not everybody's from Detroit.
Nope.
Right? But that's okay. You know, there's plenty of Detroiters that we will speak to and have spoken to that came up to us and you know, they loved what we were doing and they wanted to send us their own T-shirts or, you know, invite us to other things and network with us on things. So it's fun. And we appreciate all of the people that we were able to meet and speak with today. I mean, I couldn't pull Andy away from people today. You know, it was a chatterbox over here.
I am.
But it was a good time. So when you see us out and about or you see me, because Andy will be back in Arizona.
Leaving to go home Tuesday, unfortunately, but yeah.
You know, we'll get you in on some interviews. We want to hear about your family traditions, your tailgate traditions, your Lions traditions, whatever it is, anything that surrounds Detroit football. So I think that's it. You got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I did. And I cannot believe it actually went with a question when you asked me about my experience and what I thought of everything. I'm very upset with myself that on top of everything else, one of the most amazing things that I got to see with you was the Barry Sanders statue.
Oh, yeah.
That was absolutely amazing. Anyone watching or follows us, I did take some pretty nice close-up pictures, and I will put them up on the group on the Rocked On Detroit Lions page. So that'll be this evening. I'm going to do that. So other than that, we might have lost, but it is one game. Great experience. To all the Detroiters out there, you're awesome. You've got a great stadium, a great team, and you're one of the best sports towns anyone could experience. So absolutely salute to you.
Yeah, I think that says it all, man. And you know, going back and listening to, you know, Curtis today was one of the guys that we interviewed, or Kurt. You know, he said it best, I think, that, you know, everybody used to come because it was the Red Wings, you know, 20 plus years of the Red Wings just being iconic. And then you had, you know, the Tigers, and for many years they were iconic, and one of the best hitters in baseball, and Miggy, you know, who's retiring in a couple of weeks. The Detroit has been a marquee venue for some of the best sports in the country, in the world, quite honestly.
Absolutely.
And it's about time that, you know, the Honolulu Blue that are bleeding, you know, for a big win and a home playoff game and a team that finally wins a championship in the Super Bowl era, we're due. We're way overdue. But I think that we're all in agreement here that we need to get rid of the same old Lions fan mentality. You know, I saw some people posting that today, same old Lions fans. I mean, I get it. You're upset, right? I mean, you want to see your team win, but that's not who we are. That's not who this team is. And, you know, when our guys are down, we got to pick them up. I mean, that's what we're here to do as fans. And and that's what I'm going to try to do. I mean, you could hear in the beginning of the podcast, you know, how upset we are because, you know, some of the things that transpired today that shouldn't have, and some bad judgment calls or, you know, whatever was going on with Dan Campbell there at the end. But it's just a game. And, you know, we can help this team get better and get through the week by telling them, hey, go out next week, you know, and beat the Falcons.
Exactly.
You know, pick it up throughout the week, shake it off, dust it off. It's 1 week, clean it up, go win 3 in a row. You know, you lose one, pick up 3. You know, you win one, you lose one, you're 1-1. You know, it's not like they're 0-2.
Right.
Let's just hope we're not, you know, 1-2, you know, after next weekend.
I hope not.
And even if we are, then again, look, you still got a long season.
Exactly.
And there's plenty of games to go win. And I know I say it a lot, but it's that one game that I'm fearful of that could keep us out again.
Right.
So we've got to win 12. You know, the Lions, they have to win 12 this season. They've got to keep the refs out of it. They got to keep the rest of the NFL out of it. And they got to go win some games.
Mm-hmm.
So be a good fan. You know, pick up your team if you're on Twitter or whatever. And, you know, you follow some of the Detroit Lions. Just send them a message and say, you know what, you fought hard. And better luck next week. And we'll be there to support you. And we'll be right here too. Next Friday, we'll be back. We might have some pop-ups throughout the week. I might be doing some live events. I'll be mashing some of the interviews up and creating a video for it. And that'll be Turned Up Tailgates episode 1 when that gets released. So that's all for Rocked On Detroit Lions today. And please do us a favor if you guys would love to support us, which we hope you do. Do us a favor, just like, share, and subscribe. You know, it's the simplest method of supporting us and what we're trying to do collectively. If you'd like to join us, if you'd like to jump into the podcast and give us your takes and be part of the show, just email us at info@rockedonpodcastnetwork.com. We would love to talk with you. We'd love to get you on the show. We get a lot of interest from people, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem to work out. So let's make it work out. We do want to open up the forum on a couple of shows where we're going to send out an invite and just see who wants to jump on. The issue with that is we like to make sure that people understand the streaming software, know how to get in, understand the little bit of rules that we have so we can keep things, above board for YouTube and Facebook and everybody else.
Absolutely.
So we like to meet everybody first if possible. VillainSquad.store. It's been loaded with another 60 products, guys. We've got all sorts of stuff that'll take you direct to Amazon. If you buy through our link and you go to our store and then you buy through that link, one, you're going to pay the same price as anywhere else you're going to find or better. The difference is you're going to help us earn a commission to help this channel continue to grow so that we can do things like we did today and give all of our interviewers t-shirts.
Yep.
They all got Villain Squad t-shirts. It made their day. It made our day that they were able to give us some good content. And that's what it's all about. We want to be good fans. We want to be good friends. And we love to meet people. And that's what this is for. So that's all we got for the show.
That's it.
We'll see y'all soon. One pride.
One pride.
So, we look like we're ready. But this is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man.
Wants to throw it to Stewart. He caught it. He stole the first down. Oh, the big man dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Let me tell you something. I love this team now. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
What do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
McCollum things out. There's a big hit right away.
And boom! Touchdown, Detroit Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff dropped it in the bucket that time.
We're in our window now to win.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser.